Hey guys, Bob for Bob's Movie Reviews here, and today I'm bringing you a review of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 40th Anniversary Blu-ray. Just curious right off the bat how many people have seen this movie before. I seem to remember always liking this movie, but it's been many years since I've seen it. It's been quite a while. It's from 1974, rated R, 83-minute runtime. Obviously, this is a horror movie starring Marilyn Burns, Alan Danziger, Paul Partain, William Vail, Teri McMinn, Edwin Neal, and Gunnar Hansen. I kind of always remember this movie being really creepy and scary, and it's kind of more, it feels realer than a lot of the other horror movies. You know, it's not real, just real fake, and you know, it has a real feel. I feel like a lot of these older horror movies, just because of the way they're filmed, they feel more real. Now, this movie starts with a group of, we'll assume early 20s or so people out on the road in Texas. And if you don't know, some parts of this movie are based on Ed Guinn, who was this just really out there, crazy guy who, he was like a grave robber, and he did kill some people, and he did like wear their skin. And I mean, but he didn't live in Texas. There was no chainsaw. You know, it's just bits of this are based on him, but this is not based on any true stories. And so they meet this hitchhiker, and you know, it's the 70s, I guess, and picking up hitchhikers is cool. I don't know. It's not now, but I guess maybe then. You know, and he ends up being just this another just like insane person. He like cuts himself, and they don't know what to think of him, and he wants them to take him to his house, and they're like, well, we can drop you off at the road, you know, but we don't really have the time. And it's not a lot going on. They're just kind of driving in the car, and talking to this guy, and then you know he ends up like cutting him, and like he attacks one of them, and he starts a picture on fire, and then so they like just kind of throw him out of the car, and then so they end up at this gas station, and there's no gas. And this part to me is kind of confusing, because they had stopped by the cemetery to see if their grandfather's grave had been dug up, and you know, because there was a grave robber, and it doesn't ever connect to the Texas Chainsaw guy, but you know, I think that was kind of based on the Ed Gein person, you know, the whole grave robbing thing, and they don't ever connect it back anyway to the story, just that maybe that's why they're there, and they're looking for two of the people, I believe, their brother and sister, and they're looking for their dad's house. Now, you can assume he doesn't live there or he's dead. It's really confusing because they don't seem to know exactly where it is, and they're trying to find it, and they finally find it, and their neighbors are the Texas Chainsaw family, which again is kind of confusing because did they not know them? Did they move in there since? Very confusing. But basically, for most of this movie, just nothing's going on. They're just talking and, you know, not really doing a lot. And then finally the horror begins when they meet Leatherface. And actually, rather quickly, they start dropping off. Kind of a really badly paced movie, just really slow, and then it's just like all the killing happens all real fast. And so let's talk about, real quick before we get into everything I think about the movie, I forgot all about this, let's talk about the picture quality. This is supposed to be the new 4K scan. And what does that mean? I think absolutely nothing. They're throwing a lot of 4K terms out there to try to get people to buy movies, but there is no 4K format out there. So if it says 4K on it, it's not. Like, it doesn't mean anything. I didn't compare this to the DVD, but the Blu-ray did not look good. You know, there were scenes where I was pretty impressed. You know, it looked good. The colors were good. There was good clarity, but a lot of this movie is really grainy and not the clearest. So if you're heading out there to buy the Blu-ray because you're like, oh, the picture's gonna be so good, I'm gonna love it, I don't think it's that good. I wasn't impressed for the most part. So now let's move on to the actors. All the people who play the kids are terrible. They're horrible. Like, it's terribly bad acted, and you kind of just... I found myself laughing a lot because I just thought their acting was so bad, and I didn't find any of them very believable at all. Now, when you move over to the crazy Texas Chainsaw family, they were all amazing. And you really believe those characters. And that really is the creepiest thing about this movie, that they make you feel like these people really exist. Like there's really a guy out there with a chainsaw killing people, turning their faces into masks, and his family supports him. And, the thing I didn't understand, though, was the grandpa. Like, they have the grandpa up in the one bedroom, and maybe it's the grandma. I don't know. There's somebody else up there. She's obviously dead because, like, her skin is gone. But the grandpa looks like he's dead. His, like, body's all dehydrated, and he just looks dead. And then later, he's, like, sucking blood out of her finger. Like, what the heck? That guy's alive? It's hard to believe that guy would really be alive. And so that's kind of my take on this movie. That the good people or the kids or whatever, they're just terrible, and the villains are amazing and good. And then it just kind of ends really abruptly, like. And one kind of weird thing that a lot of people, and I remember watching a special feature, not on this, it's probably on this, but maybe on the DVD, where they were saying how a lot of people when this movie came out, and maybe even today, they feel like when they watch this movie, they've seen a lot of gore, and, it's really bloody, and, but it really isn't. There is blood, but it's not excessive amounts, and most of the horror, and the gore, it takes place off camera. Like, you see him with the chainsaw, and he'll stab the guy, and you can't see it though. So, I mean, in reality, you don't really see the gore, and I'm okay with that. But it's just kind of funny to think about, how nowadays, how gory movies are. He does hit people in the head a lot with a hammer, and you do see that. But everything with the chainsaw basically is off camera, and it's kind of crazy. So now for my final thoughts on this movie. Well, I don't love this movie as much as I thought I did, or I used to, or whatever. I still think it's a good movie. It's pretty scary, but I feel like funny at times, and ridiculous. And that woman, when you hear her just screaming for like the last half hour, nonstop screaming, it's like, oh my god, just shut her up, please, Leatherface. You're kind of rooting for him to kill her because you just want her to shut up. And it's kind of funny. So for score on this, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10, above average, but it's not up to my favorite horror movie status. That's slightly lower than the average rating on IMDb, but that's what I'm gonna give it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give this a thumbs up, and if you haven't, subscribe to see more videos from me. And I'll see you guys next time.